As a young man, I struggled to control my anger when I was growing up, and it resulted in me lashing out, having these massive emotional outbursts. And I saw that it started to affect me physically and mentally, but also affect the world around me. It came to the point where I said to myself, I have to change. I can no longer say I was never taught how to control my anger. I can no longer say it's the world's fault, it's everybody around me's fault. I had to take it onto my shoulders and say, I have to do the work necessary for me to control these angry impulses. By the grace of God, around that time, I did have some mentors or people around me within school to help me learn to control my anger, but you may not be in the situation I am in. So in today's video, I'll be showing you 4 exact ways that you can control and gain some dominance over these angry impulses so you can start to put this pain away. So hello guys, and welcome back to another video. My name is Dearenee Nelson, and when I was growing up, as I was saying, I struggled a lot with anger problems. And if anybody's watching this video actually knows me in person, I want you guys to actually comment down and say, yes, what I'm about to say is the truth. When I was in school, you could hear me if I was in school. If not every day, every other day, I was punching a wall, I was getting in fights with teachers, I was trying to fight other students, I was moving absolutely reckless. And as a young man, I was never taught that I should control my anger. At home, I was seeing people lash out. When I was in primary school, I was seeing people lash out. So for me, lashing out was just a second nature. And additionally, I wanted to fit in, and lashing out, at least in my mind, was a way to fit in. People would look at you and say, wow, you went and punched the wall again. Or you put another hole in the wall. And to me, I thought that was the way for me to fit in. So I actually reinforced these negative habits and doubled down on it. But as a 21-year-old young man right now, I understand that's not the way life should be. And I've been able to have my angry impulses controlled over the last 5 years, at least the last 5 years. And I think every single person who's watching this video wants to achieve this situation where they no longer just react. They're no longer just emotional and let their anger get the best of them. You want to be able to control these situations because, as I said, it affects 2 things: the world around you and additionally how you view yourself. I saw people respect me less. I was just some animal that would just blast out and get angry and just lash out and punch anything. And I didn't respect myself as well, because I would think all it takes is this small thing and somebody has control over my life. And now I've been able to say I have control over my anger. So I'll teach you exactly how you can do it for yourself. So step number 1, or tip number 1, or advice number 1. Anger is a habitual response, not just emotion. So I want you to understand that when you feel angry, it is an emotion. But what you do with that anger, that will be seen as an habitual response. So if you get angry and the first thing you do is maybe you shout, or you punch something, or you do something physical, or some sort of reaction that you know you don't want to do anymore, you need to understand that that isn't the first reaction. That is the habitual response, the second nature, the second reaction from the initial reaction. So once you feel frustration, which is the emotion, once you express that anger, that is the second emotion, or the second phase of this 2-phase part. And every angry outburst is a reinforced pattern. So whenever you start to do these sorts of things, well, as I said, when I was in school, I used to go and punch holes in walls. I used to shout, all these sorts of things. It's because I reinforced this as the mechanism or the way for me to express my emotion or the way that I'm feeling. And each time that I did this, I basically reinforced it. I doubled down on this negative habit and said, this is how I should react when I feel this certain way. And the whole point is you need to rewire that. You need to say, hold on a minute. When I feel like this, I shouldn't act out like this. I shouldn't go and punch this wall. I shouldn't go and shout. I shouldn't say something that I probably shouldn't say to somebody. Because when you do this, when you say, I shouldn't do this, and you reinforce this positive habit where you go against those negative reactions that you may have, then you start to take these steps back and understand, hold on a minute, I can actually control this and no longer react like this. Your brain associates certain triggers with immediate reaction: snap, shout, or explode. So when you get into these situations, like for example, all it took was a teacher to tell me something I didn't want to hear, and instantly I would just react. And it was for no reason majority of the time. I'll just explode because I wanted to. And when you're in those situations, you need to understand that when you see these sort of situations that your brain associates with lash out, snap, explode, you need to take fully control inside of those moments and say, hold on a minute, no, this is not, you shouldn't be doing this. You're not an animal. Take full control. Because I'll tell you right now, when I'm taking meetings with potential clients and these people say things that genuinely get me angry, but I have so much control and so much patience now from what I've built up over all these years that when I hear these things, it's completely different. The younger me would lash out and call and tell them I'm going to come to your house and find your grandma. But now I'm just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. You can't work with everyone. You can't please everybody. And you need to see those situations and take control of them when you see these triggers. If you never train new responses, you will stay stuck in the loop. So if you never attack this pre-assumed reaction that you think is necessary, you will always forever do it. You need to actually consciously look at what you're doing and be like, hold a minute, no, I shouldn't be doing this. Let's say it's you raise your voice and you put on a tone that's not right. When you get into the situation where you feel your emotions flaring, you have to calm down and say, you know what? Nah, it's not worth it. Let me not do this. Let me stay calm. Let me stay composed. You can't stop anger mid-outburst if you've never trained your mind outside the moment. So you can't expect yourself to not lash out. You can't expect yourself to not explode if you never do the work outside of when the work is necessary. Imagine I say to you, the only way for you to prepare for a fight is during the fight. Well, you're going to get into the fight and just get beat up because you didn't do the training outside of it. The majority of anything in life, when it comes to presenting, when it comes to fighting, when it comes to a sport, when it comes to an interview, anything, there's always pre-work that's necessary for the real deal. So when it comes to you controlling your emotions when you're about to lash out or when you are lashing out, the only way for you to control it at that point in time is by you doing the work outside of that moment. So you need to actually consciously do the thing of saying, okay, it's annoying, but if I want to sort this thing out, I need to do the work when the work isn't necessary right now. Number 2, build patience like a muscle. Patience isn't a mood, it is a skill. And once again, I can double down and say this because I'm such a patient person right now. Compared to how I was when I was younger, I used to just go straight from 0 to 100. But now it's a process. You build up the patience and you work on it. And sadly, the way to build up patience is you build patience by deliberately sitting in discomfort without reacting. I know it's going to sound annoying. When you're in a situation, as humans, we like to flee from pain. And understandably, yeah, who likes to feel pain? Even right now, you just saw me try to reach for my back because I have a little cramp in my upper back because I want to relieve myself of the pain. Now, right now, reacting with your anger and letting out that angry emotion is you trying to alleviate the pain that you're currently feeling, whatever it means, whether somebody disrespected your ego, disrespected you, they've attacked you, something like that, some form of like that. You want to react and let the pain and the emotion that you currently feel be exerted towards whatever's annoying you. But in those moments, you have to build patience and understand, hold on a minute, let me calm down, let me relax, and you'll see patience get built. When something minor annoys you, like slow Wi-Fi, loud chewing, someone cuts in lines, pause and do nothing. And of course, those things there, they do quite annoy. I never forget, when I used to play FIFA, 0 to 100. I'm talking about I could miss a goal and that messes up my whole entire day. If any of you guys play FIFA and you know foot champs, I used to sweat foot champs. I'm talking about when it used to be 20 games, I was getting like 16 wins. And I would still be pissed off, in fact, for those 4 games that I lost. Still be pissed. I could be winning, and if I miss something, I'm still pissed. You see, because that's just how I was reacting back in those days. When I was younger, all I had to do, emotion, fully in control. So, to build up the patience, when you go through these things, when these things annoy you, I remember I used to smash my control. I even have a hole next to my bed because when I threw my control when I was younger. But when you get to the situations, when you feel like I'm about to blow up everything, you just have to relax. Sadly now, the way I deal with it, I just sit there and smile. When something horrible happens, I just sit there and smile. I don't know if you guys want to go to that level, but I just sit there and smile and just laugh about it. But maybe that's a psychotic way to do things, but that helps me right now, rather than me smashing things. It sounds simple, but it rewires your brain to tolerate pressure. So when you get underneath this pressure, when you get underneath this pain, rather than instantly trying to alleviate yourself of it, be like, okay, I'm going to stay in this moment because this is where I'll grow as a person. And when you build up this patience, when you get into this situation, when you are outbursting, you will be able to control it. If you can't control yourself when it is something small, you will break when it is something serious. So if something, and this is the thing, I thank God that I'm not one of those people who get literally pissed off at a small thing. Like when I was working at David Lloyd, this is a long story short, but long story short, we had a paid event. Somebody brought their child, left their child at the paid event, and they went about their life. But they didn't pay for the event. So I called the person and said to them, you never paid for the event. The person went pissed beyond compare because I called them. They said, I'm a member, you should not be calling me, this, that, and the third. And they were so, like I told you, like 0 to 100. I'm happy I don't have to experience, or I don't go through life like that. I don't just get pissed by things from just like that. And every single person who doesn't go through things like that, you should be happy you don't go through, like, you don't react like that. You don't just go straight from 0 to 100. And it's a skill, because I can only imagine how she would react to something that actually matters. And I can only imagine how people react when things actually matter. If, for example, you spilling water, like a couple of days ago, I had tea on my table and I hit my cup and it went onto my my book, and then it had tea all over it. I just said, you know what, it's cool. Just pick the drink back up, put it back on my table, and I put my book into the sun for it to dry. Done. But somebody will be like so pissed and just destroy everything. And I even saw a video of some guy made an amazing analogy, and he was basically saying someone was like, oh, I didn't track my progress today, and so now they're just pissed or something like that. And he basically showed an analogy of, he was pouring juice into a cup, he missed the cup a bit, then he poured all the juice on the table. Then he had his laundry, like the box had dropped on the floor, and because the box had dropped on the floor, he dropped the whole entire laundry on the floor. Essentially saying that when these small things happen, don't overreact, just sort it out and just be calm in those situations. Because if something small like that was to mess you up, how will something big, how will it affect you? So you want to be in control when it's the small things, so that when it gets to the big things, you can still try and at least be in a better situation you would be than if you wasn't in control for the small things. Point number 3, delay the reaction. In the moment, pause, breathe, and slowly count to 10. Now, the number 10, I don't really think the number 10 is like an imperative number to do. Like, not every single time 10 will work, but the whole point is I want you to slowly count. And the main reason why is because when I was younger, hearing this advice used to piss me off. I used to think, what are you talking about? But essentially, it's just trying to give 2 things. One, you're getting in control of saying, okay, I'm going through this right now, but I'm going to stay in this pain. I'm going to stay in this pressure, and I'm going to slowly count to calm down. But then 2, it also gives your logical side of your brain time to regain control. So I spoke about it was the video before this. I don't know if it was the bulking video or no, it was how to stop procrastinating video. And I spoke about the prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is basically like the logical side of your brain. Now, when you're going through these reactions and you're going through these impulses, if you don't give your prefrontal cortex enough time to actually get caught up and react and make a logical decision, of course you're going to react with these impulses. But the whole point is you want to slowly count and calm down and refocus back into the situation. So your nervous system calms and the emotional spike drops. So once you allow your prefrontal cortex to do its job, once you start to breathe, once you just relax, the emotion will go. Often the urge fades before the counting ever stops. So before you even get to 10, before you even get to whatever goal number it may be for you, most likely you're going to just stop. The reaction will just go, the emotion will just go. Because you've given yourself enough time to be like, is it really that deep? No, and move on. So impulses thrive on speed. Slow it down and it loses its power. So you don't want to just react instantly. You don't want to just go straight at it. When you slow down and you pause, you'll take a lot more control and be able to not lash out inside the situation. And final point, long-term goal over short-term emotion. So you need to remind yourself of what am I trying to become? And one of my mentors, he actually spoke about this, and we was having like a group together with us and a couple of guys, and somebody was asking him, how do you control, no, I think it was actually, how do you stay on point with your goal? How do you make sure that you be a good father? Or I'm pretty sure the question was roughly aligned of, how are you in control of your emotion at a certain time? And he said, of what he's seen in his life, he created a goal. So he grew up in a situation I won't talk about, but he didn't grow up in a positive situation. And from seeing that, he said his goal is to not be like that. So whenever he gets into a situation that may make him seem like that, he just locks in and takes control of the situation and makes sure he doesn't react the way that what he has seen would have reacted. And the whole reason why this helps is because, even for example, myself, on the video before this, I think it's, how to stop swearing, or whatever the title may be, I spoke about how one thing that helped me to stop swearing was I was thinking about who I want to become. And I want to grow out of the person who does swear. I want to grow out of the person who doesn't have control over angry impulses. And because I wanted to grow out of this, I said, what would the future Dearenee do? Would he be lashing out? No. Would he be punching holes in walls? No. Would he be being aggressive to men and women, children and all? No. Okay then. So don't do it. And make that part of your life. Remind yourself of who you're trying to become, and these sorts of things will just be filtered out. So every angry reaction is a vote for the version of you that lacks discipline. So there's a certain version of you that doesn't have control of these things. And every single time you allow that reaction to come to fruition, you are voting for that person to stay within your mind. And this is going to get quite weird here, but break it down like this, yeah? This is how I at least talk to people and I try and get them to understand this, because I've heard Charlie Morgan break it out like this as well. There's a couple identities that you have. Different types of identity, different types of versions of yourself within your own mind. Like, for example, Inside Out. How there's multiple different versions. Realistically, it's like they're all the same person. So whatever the main character is, all of the emotions should just be her, but of those emotions. Like, for example, with the mom. Yeah. So you have all these little versions of yourself, essentially. And you want to sort of get rid of the negative sides of these emotions. Or if anything, or these versions of yourself, or anything, you want to limit or change how they are being rewarded. So let's say, for example, the angry side of you. Let's say there's, I'll do it for context for myself. So let's say there's a version of Dearenee that is quite undisciplined, doesn't have control over his angry impulses. All he wants to do is lash out when he feels angry. So rather than me filling up his satisfying that version of myself through letting out an angry impulse, what I will do is, for example, I will transfer that energy into going to the gym. So rather than me have to go punch a wall for me to feel that emotion be let out, I would go to the gym and go a little bit harder. Or I'd go on a run. Or I'd do some form of physical discipline. And each time that I don't react like that, and I don't punch a wall, and I don't shout at people, and I don't lash out, I vote against that. And I say to him, okay, rather than me letting you be satisfied through this action, we'll be satisfied through this action. And you do that over a long period of time, and you will see yourself start to genuinely lean towards that. Rather than you just lashing out, that version of you will be satisfied another way. So you need to fill that version of yourself up with another form of satisfaction. Rather than lashing out, let him go to the gym, or let him read a book. Let him be satisfied. Practice asking, what will the reaction from this cost me? Now that is a very hard question to ask, but it's the genuine truth. When you go out there and lash out, just know you're affecting other people. Ask yourself, will it cost you respect? Will it cost you control? And what scares me the most is, will it cost you trust? Will people not trust you anymore? And I think growing up, I saw that certain people did not want to be around me because I was known as a hothead. I was known as somebody who just lashed out all the time. And to avoid this, at least now, I've said I can't live like that anymore. So if you want to avoid that stigma, you have to remove it from your identity. So this will shift your identity back into focus. When you ask these questions, you will say, okay then, what's more important? Me letting out this emotion, or me thinking about the long-term goal? Your future self is built by who you choose to be in your hardest moments. So when you're going through it, when it's the days when you don't want to do things, when it's the days when you're struggling the most, when you feel weak and you've been completely compelled, the world has bent you over backwards, what will you do? And if in that moment you are still calm, you're still patient with what's going on, you are going to become very, very great. You're going to become a better version of yourself. And don't allow those times and those moments to bring you back to where you were trying to leave. And finally, you won't master your emotions overnight, but if you train for patience, delay the impulse, and choose who you want to be, anger won't control you anymore. And currently, anger is most likely controlling you, and you don't want it to anymore. So take control of what's going on. Don't allow these angry impulses to control you anymore, because you know that there's a better version of yourself. There's a future life that you want to experience and want to live, and this anger is holding you back. So for you to get to that situation, build up the patience, delay the reaction, and remember who you want to become. So thank you guys for watching today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, click the like down below. Additionally, if you're a young, ambitious man, click the link inside my description and see my free Discord community.